How's it going, YouTube? Oxy here, and welcome back. So, we finally got it. It's been a long time overdue. Almost 2 years since the release of Elden Ring. We finally have a trailer and release date for the long-awaited DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree. So, of course, I'll have the trailer playing now. I mean, I'll be honest, there was never going to be a trailer reaction, because as soon as that came out, or they put out the tweet that like join us for the live, like the worldwide reveal, I was gonna watch that immediately. I'm not waiting to do a video on it. And yeah, as you're watching along, it looks fantastic. Like, of course, when it comes to just art direction, or yeah, From Software is literally no competition in the gaming industry. In my opinion, they are the literal best, the cream of the crop. And we have some info about the upcoming DLC. Well, we do know the release date, which is at the end of the trailer, but I could just tell you, June 21st, 2024. So again, over 2 years since the original release of the base game. And yeah, it's a long time coming. It looks exciting. And I mean, again, we do have some answers though. Miyazaki has done an interview, which you could check out as well, but through IGN, where they interview him. And we have a lot more info than than just the trailer. So, I guess for starters, we know everyone was right guessing that we would warp to the DLC, which is expected, pretty commonplace for like FromSoft games. Like, if I look back at like Dark Souls 3 with like the Ashes of Ariandel, right? You touch Gale in the Deacons of the Deep, right? He has a little like piece of the painting they get teleported to, or the Dreg Heap even, right, where it's like essentially at the fire link, there's like the fake bonfire that takes you there. So it's pretty standard, and everyone was right that it would be at the Mo's palace, like Miquella's arm, right, in the boss room, right at the end. There's a big egg with his arm. That's the warp point that we're gonna use to travel to this new land. It is confirmed it's like separate, a whole new map essentially. We even know the size, which they give an estimate, which take it or leave it, right? It's estimated to be around the size of Limgrave, Miyazaki himself says, right? A little bit bigger maybe, but yeah, like just Limgrave, which is a pretty big area. It's about that size, which I'm like, okay, that's respectable for a DLC, right? I wouldn't expect the whole map again, At that point, just give us a second game. But yeah, so it's large, which I know Elden Ring's whole thing is Dark Souls, but open world, so that's exciting. Of course, the guy at the end of the trailer, he know his name because there's like a collector's edition, Mesmir, the Impaler, which I guess everyone thought it was Miquella, but no, he's a key figure. He sits in a throne similar to the Elden Lords, like Morgoth. So you have to wonder, is he similar to the Nameless King, again, Dark Souls 3, where he's been erased from the history books, and he's definitely a key player in the DLC, so we'll have to see. Miquella, again, is very important to the story, because we're essentially following in his footsteps, right? I assume he's probably the final boss, or maybe there's like, I don't know, maybe we don't fight him, or it depends on the storyline. We'll see, right? But yeah, we know the DLC size about Limgrave. It's a separate area. It's in the same world, but it's like they're separated. We know America had something to do with it as well. Yeah, and I don't know, it's interesting. One thing I hope for, and it's always a little thing, but I love this sort of thing, is if they will confirm or tie any of the endings, like what's the canon ending, right? So going back to Dark Souls 3, it was my first Souls like and my favorite game of all time. But if I had to be honest, one thing I loved about it was that, so you had your standard endings, but then what I consider the true ending. The one that, the longest quest was like the Lord of Hollows ending, which was my first one that I got. And what I love is that in the Ashes of Ariandel, it's referenced. So if you do the Lord of Hollows ending, and then you go to speak to Sister Fried, right? Because she's so. And if you know that game's lore, there's like the Sable Church of Londor who like try to essentially they rally behind man, like people against the gods, right? Like of their. That's why you're the Lord of Hollows. Most people go hollow, right? And there's three sisters who there's Yuria, who is the one who essentially recruits us to become the Lord of Hollows. Sister Fried, who we fight in Ashes of Ariandel. And that younger sister, I forget what was her name, like Eleonora or Lillian, something like that. But there's a third sister, which we don't meet her at all. Hopefully Dark Souls 4. But it's referenced that if you did that ending, there's special dialogue that you get when she first tells you to go away, like go back to, the real world, leave this cold place, the painted world. She tells you or even the knight, her personal protector outside is like, oh, you're Uria's Lord of Hollows. Like there's extra dialogue, and I guess what I'm saying is I love that attention to detail. So in my opinion, I feel like the Age of Stars, Ronnie was the true ending, just because 4 of the endings are all palette swaps of each other, literally the same cutscene basically, where you're sitting in the throne like the Dung Eater or the Death Maiden, right? That one's a cool ending, but or a cool quest because you fight like Fortisau, right? The dragon underground. That one's awesome, but they're all palette swaps. Those 4 endings, Sun Guy. And then Frenzy from Flame is like the bad ending. You could think of it like Sekiro, where you had the Shura ending, right? The one that like the game's short because it's a bad ending. So Age of Stars makes sense to me as like the true ending. This is right where we're essentially ditching, just like the Lord of Hollows. You're ditching like the gods or the established ways, where in Dark Souls it was like the flame, right? You're ditching the kindling, and now it's the Age of Man. And similarly, in Elden Ring, you're ditching like the Golden Order, and now it's like a new world. So I wonder if Mikola, or somehow something will be tied to that. Maybe like if you did that ending, I don't know. What I'm saying is like they should give us a cool cutscene or just something like that, like special. That would be really cool to see. Again, that's depending on what Miyazaki and the team considers the canon ending. But I look at like Sekiro, where again they had the Shura ending. They had the 2 where it was like you get the tier, only one of them, right? But it's either you cure the rot, but then the prince dies, the guy you protect, or I believe it's the other one, you sacrifice yourself and he lives. But I think the rot is still around. And then the true ending, again, is when you get both tiers, like the Everlasting Dragon, and like you combine them, and then you save him and the rot, essentially. So that's what I mean. FromSoft typically does that, where the true ending is like the one that takes the most work, which, again, Age of Stars. So I have to wonder, are we going to go to space? Are they going to do anything like that? We'll see. In the interview, it was also confirmed by Miyazaki that there will be optional bosses, which I know is like, that's not new, but there's always a concern with DLC is like people are way over leveled by now. So it's like, how do you balance that? Like, keep it challenging for hardcore players, but even a newcomer who like just picks up the game and experiences the deal, like a fresh character, which I always tend to make a fresh character just to experience it at its base, like what I guess the difficulty was intended to be before New Game Plus and all that. But most players don't. They just continue with their character. So all he said was that in the vein of like the Nameless King or Melania, right? It's there will be optional bosses, which of course are not required for the story, like to progress, but are typically much harder than like the base game. So we'll see. We'll see if we'll get a new hardest boss in FromSoft history. Usually they're pretty consistent every game. They come out with like a new one that's like contender, right? I mean, I do believe that Melania is definitely up there, or people hold her in that regard. Um, yeah, Melania, but then there's like Ishin, of course, Sekiro. If I think of Dark Souls 3, probably Midir or even Gale are considered like hard. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited. Again, the DLC will be out June 21st, so we have a couple months. Okay. Well, at the time of this, we're like near the end of February. So what, March, April, May, June. Okay, so like 3.5-ish months, close to 4 months. Not too bad. It will cost you $40 US, though. It is a substantial DLC. And well, if you go for the collector's edition, it will be a lot more. But it's an exciting time to be a FromSoft fan, and I can't wait for all the lore speculation and everything. And yeah, I hope they do tie in to whatever ending they consider the true one, and just add to that. I love that they did it in Dark Souls 3, so I love something more substantial out of it. But we'll see, right? We'll see everything when the game comes out, or we probably get more previews as we get closer. But yeah, it's an exciting time to be a fan and can't wait. But yeah, guys, that's the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you like this type of content, I tend to try to make a new video once a week, maybe have two once in a while. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below, and can't wait for June 21st. But as always, everyone, I've been your host, Oxy. Take care, and I'll see you next time.